Hello friends, welcome again to the Common Sense Science Association of India. Today, let us discuss about outer space. Although currently outer space is believed to be just an empty vacuum from the time of Aristotle, a majority of eminent persons like ReneDecartes, James Clerk Maxwell, Sir Isaac Newton, Paul Dirac, Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein not only believed that space was filled with an ethereal substance known as ether, but that this ether is a constituent of ordinary matter also. ReneDecartes hypothesized that ordinary matter, which constitutes all the objects in this universe, is solely a condensate of this ether. Although Einstein proposed the space-time theory of gravity in his General Theory of Relativity, published in 1917, in his 1920 lecture delivered in the University of Leiden, Holland, he strongly advocated the presence of ether, space, as is evident from his above quote. He concluded the lecture by again strongly alluding that space is filled with ether. Recapitulating, we may say that according to the general theory of relativity, space is endowed with physical qualities. In this sense, there exists an ether. According to the general theory of relativity, space without ether is unthinkable. Strangely, the mainstream scientific establishment, who extol Einstein as the ultimate genius, conveniently not only ignore his strong views on ether but have imposed an unwritten ban on ether theories, due to which most of the contemporary scientific community fear to even talk about ether, just as people in the 16th century were scared to talk about the heliocentric model of this universe. Yes, believe it or not, it is true. People who have tried to revive ether theories or conduct experiments to detect its existence, etc., get either demoted or dismissed from the jobs. They are also ostracized and looked down upon by their very own professional colleagues. The reason behind this ban could be because Einstein had once stated that if ether is ever discovered, then his entire theory of relativity is wrong. Einstein's 1920 lecture titled Ether and Relativity, which can be accessed from the internet, is a must-read because other than shedding vital information on the various problems existing in fundamental physics during his time, its contents also clearly expose the manner in which certain important unsolved aspects of fundamental physics were totally ignored or were grossly misunderstood and passed on to future generations as the absolute truth. It is internationally accepted that outer space begins from above 100-kilometer altitude from the Earth's surface, which is also known as the Kármán line. The Kármán line is an imaginary line which separates outer space and Earth's inner atmosphere. People who travel above this line are called as astronauts. Although Einstein did not specify the various physical properties of space, ironically mankind successfully accessed outer space only after his demise in 1955. The following are the numerous physical properties possessed by the supposedly empty vacuum of outer space existing above the Kármán line. 1. Weightlessness. Astronauts and all unattached objects present inside spacecrafts which are above the Kármán line experience weightlessness due to what NASA terms as microgravity. The other reason behind weightlessness is explained as follows. Since spacecrafts orbit the Earth at high velocity, around 27,000 kilometers an hour, they are in constant freefall around the Earth. This explanation is absolutely false because objects inside sounding rockets which don't orbit Earth but instead go vertically upwards into space and then fall down also magically begin to experience weightlessness as soon as the rocket crosses the Kármán line. Once above this line, all objects will experience weightlessness both while ascending as well as descending, provided all the engines are switched off. As soon as the rockets descend below the Kármán line, all objects will magically regain their weight even though actual freefall has begun only now. 2. Spherical formation of liquid bodies. Any liquid irrespective of mass which goes or is present above the Kármán line will immediately assume a spherical shape. 3. During re-entry, spacecrafts are subjected to two strange and inexplicable phenomena. During re-entry, spacecraft weighing hundreds of tons bounce back into space at exactly 120 kilometers altitude from the Earth's surface if their angle of attack AOA is less than 40 degrees. If AOA is maintained at 40 degrees, they will manage to descend but will be subjected to extreme heating. Strangely, spacecrafts do not heat up between 180 kilometers altitude. The actual heating due to air occurs below 80 kilometer altitude. Since 99.99997% of Earth's atmospheric air is present below the common line and only the remaining 0.00003% spreads out in the thousands of kilometers of space above this line, the two phenomena occurring at 120 kilometer altitude have no logical scientific explanation. On Earth's surface, even a ping-pong ball will not bounce up until it hits a hard surface, and heating will not occur until friction is present. Hence, the above two phenomena clearly indicate that there is some invisible substance other than air present between 100 and 120 kilometer altitude, which gives rise to surface tension as well as friction when spacecrafts with high velocity try to penetrate it. 4. Orbits are possible only above the common line. Although the region of space between 90 and 100 kilometers is also an absolute vacuum, spacecrafts which possess the required orbital velocity will not attain a stable orbit. Orbits, stable or otherwise, occur only above the common line. 5. Orbit decay. Although spacecrafts that possess the required orbital speed will attain an orbit above the common line, they are subjected to severe orbit decay, which is highest just above it and decreases gradually as the altitude increases. To overcome orbit decay and maintain the spacecraft at the required altitude, booster rockets fitted on the spacecrafts are fired as and when required. Currently, this phenomenon is attributed to Earth's atmospheric drag, which is highly questionable as the space above the common line is an absolute vacuum. 6. Bending of starlight passing close to huge celestial bodies. When starlight travels close to huge celestial bodies, for example our Sun, it bends, due to which the position of the star when observed from the Earth will appear to be slightly shifted. Isaac Newton was the first person to predict that starlight would bend around huge celestial bodies due to the gradient density ether present around them. Currently, the only proven reason behind the bending of light is refraction. 7. Gravity assist. The speed of spacecrafts can be made to increase or decrease when they enter and exit the gravitational fields of a celestial body by manipulating their entry and exit directions. 8. Gravitational fields. People trying to walk around a solid spherical object resting on the Earth's surface measuring about 1 or 2 kilometers in diameter will end up falling to the ground. However, if the same object were to be in deep space, it would be surrounded by its own gravitational field and they could walk all around it without falling into space. For example, the Rosetta mission orbited and landed on the comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko, which has a diameter of about 4 kilometers. 9. Space has no ups nor downs. From the Earth's surface and within its gravitational field, Hill's sphere, space is always in the upward direction and down is always towards the center of Earth's mass. It is only because it is within the Sun's gravitational field that it tends to fall towards it but does not fall as it is in motion. However, if our Earth or any other celestial body were positioned motionless in an area of deep space where gravity is negligible, for example exactly in between our Sun and the nearest star, then from their perspective all directions would be the same, that is, upwards. This is because they are now not in the gravity well of any other celestial body. Hence, in such an instant, irrespective of mass, they would remain suspended, float in the same position. By observing the various physical phenomena which occur only above the common line, we don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that outer space is not only filled with an invisible medium having elastic properties, but the density of this medium is highest just above the common line and decreases gradually with altitude increase. This is exactly similar to how the Earth's atmospheric air exists. Since none of these phenomena occur below the common line, we can safely presume that this space medium is absent from our inner atmosphere, that is below the common line. This presumption leads us to the following interesting as well as important question. Why does this medium exist only from above the common line and not below it? There can be only one logical explanation for this, which is that this medium and the matter that constitutes Earth, including the atmospheric air, mutually repel one another. Scientific discoveries have led to the establishment of one irrefutable fact, which is that the laws of physics that apply here on Earth apply to the entire universe. Based on this fact, we can logically presume that the same conditions that apply to a man-made spacecraft orbiting in deep space must also apply to our Earth, which when considered as a whole is a huge natural spacecraft with a physical structure as illustrated in the figure below. 1. Earth at the center. 2. Earth's gradient density atmospheric air. 3. Mutual repulsion between Earth and the space medium. 4. Common line at 100 km altitude. 5. Uniform density compressed space medium formed from the space medium displaced by Earth and existing between 100 and 120 km altitude. 6. 120 km altitude at which altitude spacecrafts bounce back and heat up. 7. Earth's gradient density gravity field formed by the spherically symmetrical displacement and distortion of the space medium. Since a man-made spacecraft has an outer shell which prevents the air from escaping out, spacecraft Earth must also have a similar shell. The dense elastic space medium existing between 100 and 120 km altitude from the Earth's surface acts as Earth's outer shell and prevents the Earth's atmospheric air from escaping into space. The Earth's surface acts like the floor of a spacecraft. The only difference between the two is that a man-made spacecraft has been set into motion by man-made rocket engines, whereas spacecraft Earth has been set into motion by natural celestial forces. On behalf of all the illustrious persons of yesteryears who strongly believed that space is filled with an ethereal medium, CSAI appeals to all the space organizations of the world as well as individual and private enterprises that have access to sounding rockets and other space technology to conduct the following two experiments. 1. Use sounding rockets equipped with required instruments to detect if they are subjected to a repulsive force as they approach the common line. 2. Efforts should be made to collect the elastic material existing between 100 and 120 km altitude from the Earth's surface with the help of long pneumatic cylinders or any other suitable devices. After taking into consideration the various physical qualities of outer space described in this article, CSAI is 100% sure that the results of these two experiments will be positive. For the first time in the history of human civilization, mankind will have access to a new material, a material which is the basic ingredient of the physical part of matter that the entire universe, including us, is comprised of, and which is not only devoid of protons, neutrons, and electrons, but which also possesses anti-gravity properties. From this basic material, scientists in future will be able to develop newer and more exotic substances. The first persons or establishment that mines this exotic ethereal substance from space will create history and will be remembered for eons to come. Folks who think that science has come to its end and there is nothing new to be discovered, beware, because every 100 years or so something new and unexpected is discovered, which shatters existing theories and leads to the birth of a new paradigm. 2017 marks 100 years of general relativity, and the time is ripe for a new discovery, the ether.